This video will cover a few more types of inputs and information we can put in a form. So let's take a look. The first one we're going to look at is a select tag. A select operates similar to like a drop-down. Essentially, it is a drop-down. We're going to add a label for our select. I'm going to do contact method or preferred. And for the drop-down, we need to give it a bunch of different options. We'll use the option tag. Let's say email is one. Let's do phone and text. For each of these, I'm going to add a value for them. Again, email, phone, and text, same thing. And we haven't seen the value attribute, but essentially the value is what gets submitted. So if the user selects email, the word email is what gets submitted. Because they're not typing into a select option. It's going to be just an option that is shown. The select, we can give an ID. Just going to call it contact. Same with the name, contact. And we'll do a for with that. Let's take a look at that. Okay. And you can see we have preferred contact method, and then we have email, phone, or text. So it is a drop-down button here. If you were to submit it, I think I need to delete these parameters here. Just go back to my contact us. If we want to see this, I think I need to change it back from post to get. I'm also going to push this submit button down. That was looking a little ugly. Let's try it again. So put our information in here. Let's say you choose phone, click submit. You'll see first name, last name, password, and then the contact equals. The equals is going to be whatever you put in the value. Notice here that the value is lowercase p, the text is capital, lowercase p is what is getting submitted. So the value is what you are submitting. The inputs themselves, when you type in them, those become the value. We don't set them, so you don't put a value in the input because the user is writing them in. With a select, you're being more restrictive. You're saying, hey, you have to, if you choose email, I control what is getting submitted. It's going to be the word email. A similar thing we can do is called a radio tag. It's basically similar to a select, but you'll see the options as little checkboxes. We'll do input. The type is radio. The ID, I'm just going to make it the same thing, email, phone, or text. Email, the name that I'm going to call contact radio, just to differentiate it between this. And we're going to have a label after it. Usually we do the labels before, but often with the radio we want the dot and then the description. This is for the email. And I'm realizing, actually we had the ID of contact, so we're okay here. So for email, I'll write the word email. And we'll just copy and paste this 3 times. Change these to phone, phone, text, and text. Now a radio, they're separate pieces, but they're all going to be for the same response. So we're going to use the same name here. That means you can only select one of these things. Whichever one you select, email, text, or phone, that's going to be the value for contact radio. So we're using 3 different inputs, but they all relate to the same thing. If you haven't seen a radio, let's look at that so we understand what's going on. So we get these little radio, these little dot buttons. You can only select one of them here. You would not see this behavior if you messed up the name. Like let's say, oops, I called these different names. If you refresh this, now you could select more than one. That's because they're not linking with each other. So we do need them to have the same name. They need to correspond to the same name that gets submitted on the form. So when I refresh this, delete this, let's just do phone. And then you can see the contact radio. That's not looking right. We have this on here. What did I forget? We probably want a value for these. Yep, that's what I forgot. And so I guess that mistake can kind of illustrate nicely what's happening here. When we select phone, we want it to display phone up here, like contact equals phone. We want contact radio to say that. So we actually have to incorporate some values to these. For this one, we'll do email again. I'm just going to do email contact so you can see the difference. And then do the same for the other two inputs. Let's do phone contact. Let's do text contact. Okay. Hopefully this works a little better. Let's try it out. Let's try text. Okay. And now the name for this set of radio buttons is contact radio, and we have text contact showing up there as expected. Let's do one last type. The last type we're going to look at is called, now it's BR tags around it, so we have spacing. And because we're doing so many BR tags, it would probably been better to do some CSS and just down some margin below. I was a little lazy, so I'm paying for it right now, but just an aside there. The last thing we're going to look at is called text area. Let's just call this about information. I'm going to do a label for it. About information. Tell us about yourself. A text area is essentially just a large block of text. You can see we can like write a lot of stuff in here. Might throw a BR after the label so we can get some spacing with that. Okay, and now we have this area here where you can start typing. If you want to give a user a hint about what to type in here, you could add the attribute called placeholder. And placeholder is actually going to show up inside the text or inside the input. So if I write tell us about yourself here, you're going to see the placeholder is kind of like this ghost text. So in this case, maybe I could do away with the label and just have this text area here with a placeholder saying the same thing. Okay. And then they can put that into information in here. And you'll see the about info has that information. Okay. So that's a rundown of how we can get information from the user. Again, this course is not going to cover how to receive that information. That is a whole larger subject in itself. There are also many different types of inputs. You could search for them. As always, I use these W3 schools options. There's different, let me just show you a few. If you go to their forms section, they have a whole bunch of further information here you could look at and explore for yourself. But we are just going to cover a few kind of basic types to get us started, and that's what we have on ours.